Yeah, back again. So, in this very low interest rates part, there we are highly elastic in the money demand with respect to interest rates. For low interest rates, money demand is highly elastic. So, horizontal line more or less. Well, and then remember our derivation of the LM curve. This was our money supply, M over P. And if we come here from this very low interest rate part, increasing then our income, so y0 is smaller than y1, then y2, then within this low interest rate part, our LM curve doesn't vary very much. Only in the high interest rate part we have this right shift of our money demand now with respect to the income. But this then means that this kind of money demand translates in the other way around in a highly elastic range of the LM curve, also for low interest rates, while in opposite we obtain a highly inelastic range for high interest rates. Well, and now we are going with this LM curve, inelastic for high interest rates, elastic for low interest rates, in our discussion what happens if we are doing monetary policy. And then our picture looks like this. Again, the overall equilibrium is just the cut of IS curve with the LM curve. But if the cut is already at very low interest rates, then of course if we are increasing monetary base at the central bank, especially the Fed and the ECB has done it after the financial crisis. They really started to buy and buy and buy bonds at the capital market with central bank money. Remember, we really doubled, tripled the monetary base. This, of course, still shifts the LM curve to the right, but unfortunately, since we are already in this very low interest rate case, the quantitative impact on income, and this is what we want to have. We really want to see that we see a push in production and income. This doesn't happen within this scenario because the shift of the LM curve has unfortunately only an impact in high interest rate scenarios or higher, at least medium level. But if we are just down here, then we see there is still some shift in this more or less horizontal part, but we have almost no quantitative effect. So although we have a right shift of LM curve, the quantitative effect on income is very low in the low interest rate part of the LM curve. And then we see that in such a scenario we are more or less helpless when we are trying to increase our economy via monetary policy. And now let's have a look together when prices are changing. Because until now we have to admit that within the ISLM model we have a fixed price scenario. So now, as we have done it coming from Okun's law to Phillips curve, now we are also introducing a change of prices. And also, you know, what really matters within our economy is not the nominal interest rate, but real interest rate, and this is approximately just the difference between interest rate and inflation. So this is expected inflation. And maybe this is then also interesting for your term paper when you are looking at the development of interest rates and inflation. So maybe you can then also just calculate the real interest rates, and I think for most of your countries in the aftermath of the financial crisis you will see in some periods that you really have negative real interest rates. And in our case, let's do the example that we are in a scenario with 0% and inflation is expected to be 10%. And what does this mean? When we are expecting very high inflation rates, such as 10%, this means that today's consumption is for us relatively more valuable than tomorrow's consumption. Because why? Well, our money with high inflation rates has not the value as it has today. Well, and if we have such a problem, going back to our liquidity trap here, we would say if still the expectation expectations within our economy are in that way anchored that I'm expecting high inflation rates, then still just um, this idea that if I do not consume today, that tomorrow my money will devalue, that this is still, although I cannot push the economy with monetary policy, that still the people by itself start to consume in order to do not lose the money due to the high inflation rates or the higher price level tomorrow. And this then would mean that we try to come into such a scenario. So the central bank can even push the economy just by changing the inflation expectations. So if there are still substantially high expected inflation rates, then it is more or less still possible to steer the economy. The much harder part is when we have low interest rates and we are already in a deflation scenario. Because what does this then mean? We have nominal rates minus inflation. Now this is zero and this is a negative number. Then we have minus minus, and this then would mean we have low nominal interest rates but positive real interest rates. Well, but think of the capital cost argument. One of the main channels how monetary policy is feeding through our economy. And just due to our deflation expectations, this really stops more or less our economy. And I think we have one guy who has Japan, and in Japan you had just this situation for almost 20 years or more, that you in this country you had very low interest rates, and also the people thought that the price level will not increase tomorrow. And for this, the institution of the central bank had really a large problem because we are already in a situation where the economy is dampened. And this then really means in such a situation we really cannot push in a traditional way our economy. And even we have to admit that an increase of real interest rates would then even also shift the IS curve in the medium term to the left. And this I and Y, IS, LM. And if also IS goes to the left, then this means a decrease in Y, and what worsens the situation even more, also nominal interest rates would go down. And this is the reason why we are really fear a situation of deflation. And this even meant that within these years of 2010 and Corona 2020, although the central bank knew that they cannot really push the economy via an aggressive monetary policy, they really tried to keep inflation expectations positive. Because when we are in a situation of deflation, it is really very hard to come out again of this scenario of a deflation, because also, yeah, in general, think of yourself. When you have especially the expectation that long-term investment goods, durable goods, so high-cost goods will decrease in price tomorrow, then you will not invest today, you will not buy these goods today, and this really triggers a downward spiral that you are shifting in the expectation that tomorrow the things will be cheaper, your expenditure in the in the future, but this means these goods are not produced today, and this means then that wages will fall today and production will fall, and overall you get in this downward spiral in the economy. And therefore, again, this means we really fear a situation of low interest rates and deflation. And therefore, I think it would be really interesting when you are looking at your country, because maybe you can also identify a situation with negative real interest rates, and I don't know which countries all of you have. Maybe you also find a situation of deflation within your country. And then maybe what has happened during these times you can interpret using these explanations. Okay, then we are done for today. Thank you very much.